Jeffery Perilloux was a Louisiana judge found guilty of SA charges against teenage girls. Now he's up for parole. In September 2020, a jury found Jeffery Perilloux guilty of 3 counts of indecent behavior with a juvenile and 1 count of misdemeanor sexual battery. The girls detailed explicit interactions with the judge. He was sentenced to 14 years. He appealed his conviction, but that appeal was denied. Now, after serving only 4 years of his sentence, he's up for parole. Let's take a look.
Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. My name is Cheryl Renatza, serving as chairman of today's parole panel. My colleagues on the panel this morning, seated to my left is Ms. Stapleton, and to my right is Mr. Barra. We are ready for our first case, and that would be Mr. Perilloux. We are at David Wade Correctional Center. Good morning, Warden. Would you and your staff please introduce yourself for the record?
Good morning. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. Michelle Dozat, Warden.
Lieutenant Colonel Elizabeth Savage. Darren Allen, Executive Staff Officer. Catherine Van Winterswijk, Mental Health.
Danny Henshaw, Classification.
Great, thank you. Thanks for accommodating us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Perilloux. Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and your DOC number, sir.
Sure, ma'am. Good morning. My name is Jeffery Perilloux. My DOC number is 755-998.
Okay, thank you, sir. And let me acknowledge the folks who joined us before we get started. We have here with us in Baton Rouge at DOC headquarters, we have Alicia Perilloux, Greta Dewey, Shannon Weber, and Valerie Perilloux. Valerie will be speaking in support, and we'll call on her at the appropriate time to do that. We also have representing the victims by Zoom, Rochelle Guidry, Leon Guidry, Keith Hotard, and Rachel Hotard. Ms. Guidry and Mr. Hotard and Ms. Hotard will all be speaking at the appropriate time. We'll call on them to do so. First, Mr. Perilloux, I'm going to read some identifying information into the record, ask you to verify it. Then we'd like you to take a moment to tell the panel why you believe we should vote favorably for you today. We'll hear from the warden, those people who indicated they'd like to speak. Then we'll start our parole interview with you. Your case has been assigned to Mr. Barra. He'll take the lead on the interview. So, Mr. Perilloux, you are classified as a first felony offender. You're currently serving a 13-year, 6-month sentence, having been sentenced in October 19, 2020, 3 counts of indecent behavior with juveniles. You received a 4.5-year sentence on each of those running consecutive. Your parole eligibility date is April 12, 2025. You don't earn good time, and your full term date is April 12, 2034. Is that information correct, Mr. Perilloux?
Yes, ma'am. That is accurate.
Okay. So would you take a moment and tell us why you're in jail and why do you believe we should vote favorably for you today?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, I appreciate it. As you mentioned earlier, I was convicted in 2020 of 3 counts of indecent behavior with juveniles. I was sentenced consecutively 4.5 years on each count for a total of 13.5 years. Since I arrived here at David Wade, I have participated in every single class that has been offered to me for rehabilitation purposes. I have attended worship services on a regular basis, continue to do so up through this point in time. I spend most of my time when I'm not working in the laundry, reading or in prayer or conversing with some of my fellow inmates here at the N5 unit at David Wade. I've had a lot of time to reflect on all the things that brought me here to begin with, not just in terms of the case itself and what transpired leading up to my conviction, but also at 57 years old, a lot of things throughout my life. Both the things that I did that were probably considered good and some of the things that would probably be considered mistakes that I've made in my life. And to be fair, I've had my share of mistakes. However, having said all of that, I think inherently my family will attest to the fact that I am indeed a good person. I have a good heart, and I do try to help others when the opportunity arises. That is inclusive of my stay here in David Wade. I've attempted to be a positive influence on my fellow inmates, have tried to keep them in a frame of mind that allows them to not only excel during their time here, but also to look forward to the opportunity to themselves help others. And so I think when push comes to shove, if I'm given the opportunity to get out and be free again, I do intend to be a contributing member to society like I was for most of my life. I do intend to do those things that not only allow me to be a family man again for my children, but also to be a contributing member to society. And to that end, it is my hope to be able to form a nonprofit group that is dedicated to helping innocent people who have been wrongly convicted in prison, as well as those who have been overly sentenced, and to educate people on some of the pitfalls and traps that they could fall in, perhaps, that might lead them to be questioned about some of their conduct as to whether or not it's appropriate or not appropriate. And so I know it's a tall order, and some may consider it a pipe dream, but fortunately, with my background in law, my background as a district court judge, and my background as an assistant district attorney for 15 years in St. John the Baptist Parish, I believe I have the footwork necessary to be able to establish such a nonprofit group. And so I would hope that today you consider my early release and understand that the things that transpired that brought me here to begin with will never occur. I fully intend to completely comply with all the obligations that I'll have in terms of being on parole as a parolee to show that your decision will be meritorious if indeed you grant me that opportunity. So thank you very much. And again, I know your decision is not easy, and I do appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Warden Dozat, can you add anything for us?
I'll just add that he, since he has been at David Wade for the last 4 years, he hasn't received any rule violation reports. So his conduct has been excellent since he's been here. He's completed reentry, living in balance, stress management, victim awareness, and the sex offender treatment program while he's been housed in N5. And then he currently works in the laundry, and he has a good work evaluation from his supervisor.
Thank you very much. Okay, now we'd like to hear from those in support. We'd like to hear from Valerie. Valerie, if you'd step up to the morning.
My name is Jeffery Perilloux, and I'm speaking in support of my father, Jeff Perilloux.
But can you speak up just a little bit? Our microphone is on the other side of this pole, we want him to be able to hear what you say.
I am his youngest daughter and will be speaking on behalf of my family. Present here with me today, as stated, my dad's ex-wife, my mom, his sister, and my aunt, his cousin. Unfortunately, my sister could not be in attendance today due to medical school obligations, and his previous attorney, Ms. Kim, was impacted by the hurricane, leaving her unable to be here as well. Each of these individuals, including myself and others, are committed to helping my dad reintegrate in society. Whether it's finding him a job, giving him a place to stay, helping him contribute to our community again, he has a strong support system ready to reunite and heal with him. Growing up, my father has always been a pillar of strength, love, and laughter for those surrounding him. His absence has caused us heartache as we try to navigate life with the pain of separation. Throughout the last 40 years, he has continued to play a vital role in our lives through various phone calls, emails, and in-person visits. His presence in our life is irreplaceable, and I know that he has so much love and wisdom to share. Over these past 4 years, my father has missed many milestones for my sister and I. College graduations, a medical school acceptance, white coat ceremony, birthdays, holidays, to name some. More than those events, he has missed the everyday moments that shape our bond, the laughter, our silly jokes, the lessons, being there for my sister when her 7-year relationship ended, getting a random phone call from his daughters, asking for advice, and the simple joys of being a girl dad, changing my tire when I'm left stranded at school, making sure I'm keeping up with oil changes, giving me a hug when I'm having a bad day, taking me to lunch on a random day. Most importantly, he has missed the sudden, unexpected death of his father in 2021. My dad's presence would not only bring comfort, but also allow us to honor my grandfather's memory as a favor. I believe this closure is crucial for all of us, and it would help my dad continue on his path of rehabilitation. His commitment to personal growth and demonstration of strength and resilience is an inspiration to his loved ones. He has completed courses and earned certificates through the past 4 years and also received a Tiger Risk score of 1. My dad has shown that he is ready to contribute positively to our family and the community. My dad, I miss you deeply and long for the day when we can be together again. Your presence means the world to me, and I cherish all the memories we shared. Regardless of what happens today, know that I'm here for you, supporting you every step of the way. Thank you so much. To the members of the parole board, I hope you can see the potential for healing and growth that my father represents for our family. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. All right, we'd like to hear from the victim's family. First, could we hear from Ms. Guidry? Guidry, are you there? Yeah, we can't hear you. Are you on mute? Can you unmute your microphone?
Thank you. Someone just unmuted my microphone. Thank you for allowing us to be here today and speak. I first want to say that my heart does go out to Valerie and Dominique. I don't wish to see any child suffer, but I have a child as well, and her name is Anna Guidry, and I'm here to speak for her today. I am not her mother. I am her stepmother. Her mother could not be here because she passed away of cancer. Something that Mr. Jeff Perilloux knew and used to pray and used her vulnerability to pray on her. I came today with an open heart, hoping to hear from Jeff and I'm sorry, or, admitting what he has done wrong, because that's all we really ever wanted. But all I hear is speaking of rehabilitation and starting a nonprofit for people who are wrongly accused. God is the main judge here, right? So he knows. You know what you've done. He knows what you've done. We're all sinners, and we all have faults. I hope the Holy Spirit touches your heart just so we can all just move on from this and have closure. Just say sorry. Just admit what you have done to our children so that we can all move on, so that your daughters can move on. That is a true testimony of strength. That is the truest testimony of strength, to admit that you have done wrong and then go get help. Get help. When you get out, get help. That's it. That's all we ask. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Guidry, for sharing. Appreciate it. I know that was difficult. Now we have the Hotards, and I'll let them decide who's going to speak first.
Hi, I'm here. This is Rachel Hotard. Can you hear me?
Can.
Good morning. Again, I would like to thank you all for this opportunity to speak on our daughter, Emily Hotard's behalf. She is at work right now, having to take a break to join along on the YouTube My husband is here on side of me right here at home. Um, First, I'd just like to say, before all this happened, Jeff Perilloux was a friend of ours, an acquaintance, somebody that we absolutely trusted our daughter with to take care of, to protect when, she was with him in his presence, with his daughter that she was friends with. We trusted him completely. We had no reason to not trust him, But then after this incident happened and the trial came, and seeing his actions, hearing the things that happened, we realized how deceitful of a man he really was, and how he, preyed upon our trust of him and our daughter and took advantage of that. And I feel like the same things that he's saying in here right now, speaking of, he's going to make a nonprofit for people wrongly accused, but yet he wants to say he's done his rehabilitation. It's kind of speaking out of both sides of his mouth, where it's either one or the other. I kind of came on with Miss Guidry in the hopes of maybe we would have had some kind of apology and some kind of admittance to it, but it's not what we're obviously getting here. We're just afraid that he, during the trial was very arrogant, very defiant, and that he did nothing wrong. So our fear is that he gets out and begins to prey upon other people and tries to build that trust again, and ends up kind of doing the same thing to other young girls. Or is he going to still now be in the vicinity of where our girls are? And, that fear of just, those kinds of things coming up again. I just really feel like I need to stress the point that he thinks he did nothing wrong. And he was very convincing and deceitful and conniving. And I just feel like he can't be trusted. I completely feel for his children and the events that dad had to miss for them, and the passing of his dad, all the events, good and bad. But his actions that he did, he chose this for himself and knew if he got caught, there would be consequences. And he brought that on himself. So I, on behalf of and myself, we just would like to say that we do oppose him being paroled at this time. And we appreciate you taking the time to listen to our concerns.
And does Mr. Hotard wish to speak?
He's right here.
Yes, ma'am. I'd just like to reiterate the point that he never admitted he was wrong, but then he's saying he's rehabilitated. How can you be rehabilitated if you never have come to terms with what you did was wrong? And then to come out and say he's going to do a nonprofit for people wrongly convicted and overly sentenced, that's a passive aggressive way of saying that he's not guilty and didn't do anything wrong. And if he truly believes he did nothing wrong, was to protect the community from this never happening again. And my last point to the board is to please consider the impact on releasing him back into the same community where some of his victims still live. And that's it. Thanks for your time.
So much so. All right, Mr. Perilloux, would you answer any questions, Mr. Burrow?
Sure. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm going to start out by just summarizing a little bit of the case. This is a case of a sitting judge who used a position of power over juvenile friends of his daughter and committed indecent behavior with the juvenile 3 counts while taking them on Florida vacations at his own residence. He was found guilty at a jury trial of all 3 counts and sentenced to serve a total of 13.5 years at hard. The victims, as you just saw, and family members are opposed to the release. When it comes down to questions, I guess the big question, which is the elephant in the room right now, is, were you wrongfully accused and are you still claiming to be innocent right now?
I missed the first part of your question, sir. I'm sorry. Would you repeat it?
So the first part of it is, were you wrongfully accused and are you still maintaining your innocence today, right now?
The answer to that question is emphatically yes. I was wrongfully accused. and I am maintaining my innocence as of today, and I still continue to fight for my innocence in the court system, and I will continue to do so. Even if I'm granted parole, I will continue to pursue the avenues that are available for me to prove my innocence and to be fully exonerated. And let me clarify that real quick by saying this. I completely understand the position that the parents of the girls involved in this case are in. I completely understand that. They have been fed information from the Attorney General's office that have convinced them that I am a predator, that I am not. I am not a child predator. I never have been, and I never will be. And I have to say that whether that sways your vote or not today, I am not going to say that I did something that I did not do for the sake of expediently leaving prison. If I did something wrong, I would apologize for it. And to that end, if any conduct that I engaged in, any conduct or anything that I said ever crossed a level of comfort for the parents or for the kids, I am indeed sorry for that. But I did not commit sexual crimes against any of these girls, period.
Where do you plan on living and what do you plan on doing if we were to release you?
Well, my plan right now is to move in with my sister, whose husband, by the way, is a police officer, has been for over 30 years. I would be living in their residence. He would keep an eye on me just for the sake of protecting the community, if indeed there is a concern within the community that I might do something like this again, according to the statements of the parents. And my intention at this point in time for employment is to go into the seafood business, which my father was in for over 40 years. I intend to go into something completely different in terms of what I've done for my entire professional career, but a career that I'm also familiar with due to my dad's involvement in the seafood business for over 30 years. And that would be on the wholesale side of things.
That's all my questions.
I've got something. Mr. Perilloux, let me ask you something.
Yes, ma'am.
The text that you sent the girls,
Yes, ma'am.
that at first they said that you were, well, they felt like you were like a second father to them. They trust.
Correct.
So, that was the level of influence that you had over them, which is often seen in these types of cases. It's going to be a father, stepfather, close family member, something like that. So let me ask you, they spoke about the text being weird as to what you would say to them, and you would give heart shapes at the end and different things like that. And then some of the questions that you would ask them, did you send those types of questions with those types of emojis to your own daughters at that same time frame? If we were to compare the text to your own daughters, because they said their own daddies would not have sent them those types of texts, and they wouldn't have ended the text the way you did with hearts and stuff like that. Did you do that with your own daughters?
I did. With not only with my own daughters, but with my nieces as well. My sister has 2 children who are older than mine, who were like my first daughters, okay? The emoji stuff that you're talking about, ma'am, with all due respect, and the little heart symbols, that was a new feature that was on the iPhones around the time that these communications occurred. I was tinkering with those little text message features. I guess that's what you'd call them. I'm not overly tech oriented. However, those heart messages were just that. They were simple ways of saying, I love you in a paternal type way, because I did view these girls as family members, just like I did with my own daughters, obviously, as well as my sister's 2 daughters. I was affectionate and I was kind. And if that offends anyone, then of course, I'm sorry for that. That was never my intention. My intention was to show them how important they were to me in a paternal sense, not in some perverted, predatory sense.
Well, that's where they had problems with it, because that wasn't paternal, the way those messages came across, because they said their own fathers didn't end their messages the way you did, and then phrase his messages, Papa J loves you, and then end it with these emojis and stuff, thinking of you and smiling, you make me happy, pie with a drawn heart. You are my sunshine. So it wasn't sexual in nature, but for the girls, it was odd. But you were so important in their life, they gave you leeway with that type of stuff. And then when I asked you,
Well,
just
ma'am,
to do that with your own daughters, you said no, but you did it with your nieces. Why
no,
did you make
I did it
things?
with, I didn't say no. I said yes. Not only did I do it with my own daughters, I also did it with my nieces. Those are,
Okay, so
and
let me
to
ask
some
you about
friends as
touching.
well.
Let's get
Let
into
me,
let's get into the touching, because you're saying you didn't do anything. So let's get into the touching. You know, like these were young teenagers. And here's another, some of the stuff that was unusual. If suntan lotion, you insisted on putting it on these young girls. Oh, one girl needed some vapor rub.
Not accurate.
And she said that she just needed some vapor rub, and you did rub it on her chest. Those things are not normal for a grown man to do with anybody other than an infant. So why did you think those things were not crossing the line? Because they did. So why did you not think that?
Well, first of all, let me just, I will answer that question, but let me finish my point on the text messages. Every message I ever sent the girls was not done in a surreptitious fashion. Their parents could have seen any of these messages at any time, and if they had an issue with the manner in which I communicated with the girls, they certainly could have told me something. I did not have any communications with Miss Hotard's daughter. Emily Hotard received no text messages ever from me, not one text message. I didn't even have her number. The only two girls who I texted were one who has not accused me of any crime, who is not involved in this case as a victim, and the other was Miss Guidry's daughter, who I had texted for probably 4 years before anything happened. As far as the touching was concerned, the only times that I ever touched these girls were at their request, and it wasn't on a frequent basis. Anna Guidry had a problem with her neck after she would swim, her shoulders. She would ask me at swim meets and or at home when she was with my daughter if I would simply massage her neck a little bit. These were not full body 10-minute, 20-minute massages. These were little 30-second, let me try to loosen your neck up a little bit type touching. That was the extent of it. As far as the vapor rub incident, which is the misdemeanor that isn't involved in what you all are dealing with today, yes, that was something that I did for Shayna, who had been in my life since she was 1 year old. And I put vapor rub right here. It took me all of 3 seconds to rub vapor rub right here. If you can see me, that's where I put the vapor rub, right here. It wasn't an ongoing type thing or a frequent thing that I touched these girls in any way, nor did I have any desire to. There were limited occasions where I did indeed engage in physical contact. And to the extent that that physical contact was deemed to be inappropriate or crossed some line of comfort, I am sorry for that. But that was, my intention was never to touch them inappropriately, ever, not once.
Okay, but do you think these girls all said consecutively their daddy wouldn't do that? So I guess, I mean, we're just gonna
Y'all hear me?
touch on this, so we're not gonna go any further with this because you don't see that there was a problem with it. I do understand, but I do understand why they loved you and they let you do things that they felt like this shouldn't be happening. And then when the one girl came out of the room crying that it went too far for her, then the others admitted she had done things that went too far for them. So, you know, you had the one girl that your daughter was her best friend since what, they were in the 2nd grade. You got a lot of broken hearts on both sides.
I am aware of that, and I feel horrible about that. I do. These people, as Ms. Hotard said, were friends of mine, generational friends. We're talking about friends of their parents and my parents and their grandparents and my grandparents. We're talking about generational friendships that have been fractured as a result of this. And honestly, I think communication early on could have avoided some of this, and maybe better decision making on my part. But at the time, I did not think about the negative side of physical contact because I didn't intend to touch them inappropriately. So I just want to make sure you all understand. Yes, I totally understand the feedback that the parents are offering here, but I have to make it clear that my intention was never nefarious with these girls. I truly considered them to be like family to me, and everything I ever did for them or did with them was from a familial type standpoint. In hindsight, yes, ma'am, it may very well not have been the best decisions, but at the time they were made, I had no idea that any of the girls were uncomfortable with me on the manner in which I treated them. And that is the best
Well,
way I can put
time
it,
out,
quite
one
frankly.
sec, just 1 second here. Okay, time out. We're gonna move on, and I understand where the girls were coming from. So that's the end of my questions.
Anything else you'd like to say, Mr. Perilloux? Before we
I did not hear you, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Anything else you'd like to say?
No, other than, again, I appreciate your consideration. I know not only as a longtime attorney, but as a judge, decisions are not easy when they involve these types of situations. But I want to make it perfectly clear before you vote that I never, ever intended to do anything to harm any of these girls or in any way touch them in an inappropriate fashion. The outcome that we see now is not at all what I intended. And I sincerely apologize for that. And again, I thank you for your time.
I think the panel's prepared to vote. Mr. Byron?
Mr. Perilloux, you are right. You do bring us to a very tough decision. But obviously the jury didn't believe your side of the story. And so what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to vote to deny parole today based on the serious nature of the crime and that you only serve 4 years off of the 14-year sentence, which is a fraction, in the strong victim opposition. I'll suggest that you keep on doing exactly what you're doing and reapply at your next option after you serve just a little more time, because 4 years off of 13 is really not justice for the jury verdict.
Mrs. Stapleton?
I concur with Mr. Barra.
Mr. Perilloux, I also agree that it's insufficient time served based on the jury verdict. I do wish you well. My vote is to deny for those reasons. I do wish you well in your quest to appeal. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thankfully, his parole was denied, and hopefully his next attempt will be too. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to see a new court video every week. And please, share your thoughts about the Jeffery Perilloux case in the comments below. Until next time, folks.